Welcome back, everybody. Ryan with Numbers Up Finance here on Monday, April 15th, 2019, to bring a very brief market wrap for today. Just going to cover the broad indexes and one little thing to point out on the natural gas charts. We'll make it very quick because I don't think there's too much to cover. I think you should refer to the video last week I made on Friday covering some of the stuff on the long-term treasury bonds, on the volatility index future, and on the broad markets. Give a better picture of where I think we're headed this week. But we opened up today pretty much flat. We started the day pretty red, and nothing eventful really happened. But there's just a couple things I want to point out, a couple price levels I'm watching, and we'll make it super brief, like I said. So to begin, we'll start on the 4-hour chart of QQQ. Just point out this little wedge pattern that's developing here. It's been pretty clean nonetheless, and it's getting squeezed out. So what we're going to see is a pop on either the bullish side or the bearish side. I'd prefer a pop on the bearish side. I think a pop on the bearish side would be relatively minor at this point. I think it would just be a small corrective pullback, almost to this 183 price level where I'm hovering at right now. That's kind of an arbitrary price range. It's a very loose target, but it's something I could see happening. At this point, the waterfall sell-off, I think, is not behind us, but for the near term, I think it's behind us. I think we have some key longer-term price levels to test before we start having any type of third wave down, rather. I think in the meantime, we're going to have a lot of upwards trading with some corrective pullbacks. But again, anything can happen in the markets. It's about looking at the charts day to day. That's just how I see things right now. But in 2-3 days from now, that could be wrong. We could start to melt to these price levels. The bearish side could finally step in and see things happen. But what I see right now is this bearish wedge on the 4-hour chart of QQQ. I'm looking for a break in either side, either the break at the support or the break at the resistance. Breaking the resistance obviously would open up the doors for higher price levels, and the break at the support would open the door to, I'd say, at least 183 for QQQ in my opinion. And we'll watch that the next couple of days. We probably should get a side pick by tomorrow because we have very little room left in this wedge. Sooner or later, overnight these charts will probably make up their mind on where they're going to go. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on some key levels, and like I said, 183 would be the first price target I'm watching. Break above, we could test the all-time highs on QQQ. We'll see what we do with that. So the next we got is SPY. I'll just test the 1-hour chart on this real quickly. Just a slight delay. Apologize for that. This is the 20-day 1-hour charts on SPY. Oh, this is the 1-day chart. There we go. This is just 20-day 1 hour. These are just two trend lines I'm watching, both starting from the same point, manipulated differently. Just making a resistance and support trend line. This one I don't put as much weight into. It's something I would just like to see. It's just a pattern I've kind of identified. Again, it's really not that significant. The 4-hour chart on SPY doesn't form as clear of a wedge as it does on QQQ, so I want to take a look at the 1-hour charts on SPY instead. And, I see this pattern forming as well. I would like to see a break below the support line. We've been testing back and forth between this range. Again, both these trend lines starting from the similar lows back on March 27th. And, what appears to be a wedge forming pattern. And again, you could, manipulate the trend lines and form potentially a wedge pattern. But that's not really more so important. Again, when you're dealing with the indexes, sometimes QQQ will look easier. Sometimes SPY will look easier to analyze. In this case, I think QQQ is a more clear setup. But again, if you look at the daily charts actually for SPY, you might get a different case out of that. SPY, of course, is just about $4 off of its all-time high, and if we don't see a break of that wedge pattern and we don't see the support levels break, I think we're going to go test those all-time highs again, like I mentioned last week. We got a double top there back in October, I think it was, and if we break these levels we're at now and we go to test that level, I heavily expect to see a reaction at 294. And, just point out again, we are getting overextended on the daily chart for the RSI, and typically we see a correction when that happens. We don't have strong long-term divergences, intact anymore, so I would keep an eye on that. But again, the one thing that's been remaining consistent throughout, most of this extended leg up, this, what I thought was a bear market rally, which has been much more than that at this point. What's remained consistent is this incredibly, this tapering volume. Overall, it's just been falling for quite some time now, pretty significantly, I'd say. Obviously, that's not a very clean line. That's just kind of a picture of it. But we've been tapering for quite some time, and we even had, we had a significantly low volume today on SPY. So keep an eye on that. That's just a red flag for the bullish case moving forward. But again, the biggest thing I'm looking at right now, or the simplest thing I'm looking at right now, is the 4-hour chart for QQQ. watch a break of that wedge, but SPY helps too. So last thing I just want to cover, this is the, we'll take a look at the daily charts for /NG. This is the future for the natural gas market. Chart might be a bit of a mess, but don't focus too much on that. All I want to take a look at is this 2.5 support level on natural gas. And actually, if I extend the time frame here to, we'll make it 10 years. I've covered this in prior videos for any of you that have seen that, but this 2.5 level just doesn't get broken. It seriously just doesn't get broken. And what we had last time we hit 2.5 was a golden setup, right? We hit the strongest support you could find on any chart anywhere for pretty much any position. That's a bold statement, but seriously, this over years just hasn't been broken. And with that testing of a support, we had a bullish divergence. And bullish divergences typically make just, they typically play out to be pretty big gains in that case. And though we didn't go quite the pop that I was expecting, we still got a pretty significant pop over time for natural gas. And now we've sold off. But now if we look at our momentum indicator on the daily charts, we're still holding that line pretty nicely. Extended just very slightly here. If we get a tag off of that line with a couple more days of selling off, we could hold our divergences over time. And despite not making higher lows on the price, we are actually making higher lows on the momentum, keeping the divergence alive. But, you know, I would sit on your hands with the natural gas markets the next couple of days. Don't try to get cute with the 4-hour charts or the 1-hour charts or even the daily charts and try to, you know, swing the ebbs and flows. If you want to make a decent profit in the natural gas markets, you're going to want to look for the future to hit 2.5, set your price targets, and set a stop right below that 2.5. Because I'll tell you right now that if it breaks 2.5, I can't say this with absolute conviction because anything can happen in the markets, but if it does break that 2.5 line, that opens the door for impulsive selling in the natural gas market. Because, again, we're entering territory we haven't seen in years. I mean, this support level's been tested all the way back since 2016, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now we're looking at the 7th strong reaction off of it. So look for a setup there, but be very careful of an impulsive break downward. Don't get caught on the wrong side of the boat if it, if it tests this level and breaks it. So, but yeah, that'll about wrap it up for today. We'll keep an eye on the markets moving forward. This is just the first day of trading this week, so we'll see how the week plays out. This has been Ryan with Numbers Up Finance, and get your numbers up.